Quinn Cavanagh hit the planet's surface like a freight train with a bad attitude, boots kicking up clouds of dust as he slammed into the cracked ground. His bare chest heaved, the metallic hum of his cybernetic parts whirring beneath the tension. He didn't look like a soldier. He didn't look like a leader. He looked like someone who had long given up pretending he had a plan. And yet, here he was, in the middle of a war zone on a planet no one cared about. His shirt? Gone. His weapon? Tucked away. One rule: no one dies today, except maybe me. The sky above was a dull orange, split open by streaks of laser fire. Down below, Vioran soldiers scrambled, shouting in a language Quinn could barely comprehend. Blasts rang out, and the sickening sound of bone and metal being torn apart echoed through the dusty air. They were on the brink of total collapse, but this wasn't his fight. It wasn't supposed to be his fight. But Quinn didn't always get to choose. He wiped the sweat from his brow, his gaze scanning the scene. A group of armed Viorans were barricaded behind a crumbling structure, facing off against the Red Shroud faction, a name that sounded far more impressive than the group actually was. Still, they had Draxar, and that meant they had the power to turn the planet into rubble if they wanted to. Quinn wasn't in the mood for rubble. He adjusted his stance, cracked his neck, and finally, without hesitation, stepped forward. "All right," Quinn muttered to himself, his voice thick with sarcasm, "let's see how many aliens I can piss off before my luck runs out." He wasn't going to make this easy. A blast from a sniper rang out, but Quinn didn't flinch. He moved faster than the eye could follow, ducking into a roll and sliding behind a rusty transport vehicle, the alien shot missing by inches. His chest heaved, his enhanced heart pumping adrenaline into his veins. There was a brief second of calm, and in that silence, Quinn realized something: he wasn't scared anymore. He didn't have to be. Not since the incident. "Guess I'll go with the no-weapons rule today," he mused, flashing a cynical grin as a grenade bounced past him. It exploded behind him with a violent crash, sending a shockwave through his body. His cybernetic parts hummed, but he didn't feel much. Just another day, just another explosion. But the rule was clear: no weapons. He could punch, kick, and maneuver like the best of them, but the second he picked up a gun or a knife, well, that was when the game changed. He was supposed to lead without it. The irony wasn't lost on him. The one person who couldn't keep a rule to save his life, and now he had to do it for a planet that didn't even know he existed. As another blast shook the ground beneath him, Quinn jumped up and raced into the fray. A group of Red Shroud soldiers came at him with heavy armor, but they weren't ready for the kind of fight Quinn was bringing. One man swung a metal pipe at his head, and Quinn ducked, stepping inside the arc of the blow and delivering a crushing knee to the soldier's gut. The man doubled over, gasping for air, before Quinn snapped his head back and sent him flying with a vicious elbow to the face. No weapons. No mercy. "First rule of fighting," Quinn grunted, kicking another soldier in the chest. "Make them think you're a lot dumber than you really are." The Viorans behind him cheered, but Quinn wasn't in the mood to savor the moment. Every punch, every throw, every movement felt like he was sinking further into something darker. Maybe that was why he fought. Maybe the pain kept his mind from wandering too far. Maybe it was all just an excuse. Another soldier charged at him, this time with a jagged blade drawn. Quinn dodged the slash, grabbing the man's wrist and twisting, using his enhanced strength to send the alien crashing into the ground. With one swift motion, Quinn drove a knee into the soldier's face, then stood up, wiping the blood from his knuckles. "Keep coming, assholes," Quinn muttered, his voice tinged with bitterness. "I'm just getting started." The chaos around him escalated as more enemies joined the fray, but Quinn didn't flinch. His mind was already on the next move. The next challenge. It was all a game, a sick, twisted game he played because he didn't know how else to live. But that's when she appeared. Out of the smoke, a small figure emerged, stumbling from behind a damaged building. Her face was hidden beneath a dirty hood, but Quinn could see her clearly enough. She was no soldier, no hardened warrior. She was a child, scared but determined, clutching something in her hands, a weapon? No. It was a device, small and alien. Her eyes locked onto him, and for a moment, Quinn felt a strange tug at his chest. She had no business being here. No reason to get involved in the mess Quinn had walked into. Yet, there she was, a symbol of everything he'd lost. And maybe, just maybe, everything he still had a chance to save. She stood still, eyes wide, watching Quinn's every move. He didn't know if she was admiring him or preparing to run for her life, but there was a spark in her expression. Something Quinn hadn't seen in a long time, hope. A laser blast hit the ground beside her, sending her sprawling. Without thinking, Quinn rushed to her side, his reflexes kicking in as he pulled her out of harm's way. The alien soldiers were too busy shooting at him to notice. "Stay down," he barked. "You don't belong here." But the girl didn't hide. She stood up and looked at him, really looked at him, as if she was seeing something he couldn't even see in himself. For the first time in years, Quinn felt a flutter of something he couldn't ignore. A spark. Maybe even a beginning. The war had just started, but for Quinn Cavanagh, it was already too late to turn back. The night fell like a heavy curtain, and Quinn Cavanagh found himself back in the ruins of the Vioran city, the aftershocks of battle still rippling through the air. He didn't know why he stayed. It wasn't for the cause, not really. It wasn't because he cared about this world, this war, or even the people who were fighting for something they couldn't even define. But there was something about the girl, Zali, that wouldn't let him walk away. She had that thing, a fire, a purpose that Quinn hadn't seen in years. It annoyed him, like a nagging itch he couldn't scratch. She was just a kid. She shouldn't be here. She shouldn't even be alive. He sat on a crumbling stone ledge, staring out at the dying city below. The fires still burned in the distance, the glow casting twisted shadows on the ruined buildings. Somewhere in the dark, Draxar's forces were regrouping. But Quinn didn't care about that. Not yet, anyway. He didn't care about much these days, except one thing, keeping the girl alive. Zali had insisted on helping him. She was convinced he was some kind of savior, a hero who was just hiding under layers of cynicism and self-loathing. She saw through it all, though. And that was the problem. "Do you ever shut up?" Quinn muttered, pacing in front of the makeshift camp they had set up. "You're like a dog that won't leave me alone." Zali was crouched over a set of glowing alien components, her tiny hands working quickly, making sense of the mess he'd stumbled into. She barely acknowledged him, too absorbed in her task. "No, Quinn," she said with that annoying smile of hers, the one that always made him want to roll his eyes. "I don't think you'd be here if I didn't keep talking." He gritted his teeth, stepping closer. "I'm not a babysitter. I don't do this hero crap." "You don't have to," she shot back, her tone matter of fact. "But we're in this mess together now, whether you like it or not." Her eyes were bright in the dim light, flickering with a strange kind of hope that Quinn couldn't even begin to comprehend. His gut twisted, but he shook it off, turning away. "Why the hell are you so determined to fix everything? This isn't your fight, kid." Zali stopped working, finally looking up at him. "I've lost everything. Family. Friends. A home." Her voice cracked, but she swallowed it down. "What do you have left, Quinn? What's keeping you from giving up?" Quinn froze. Her words cut deeper than anything he'd endured in years. His chest tightened as memories rushed back, the faces of those he'd failed, the endless missions that had led him to this hollow point. He clenched his fists, feeling the buzz of his cybernetic enhancements under his skin. It wasn't supposed to hurt. He was supposed to be over it by now. But that damn question, "What do you have left?" hung in the air like a stone around his neck. Zali's gaze softened, and she moved to stand beside him. She was too close, but Quinn didn't pull away. She was the only thing that wasn't broken in this nightmare of a world, and for some reason, that unsettled him more than any alien army ever could. "Nothing," he said hoarsely. "I don't have anything left." She didn't look away. "Then let me give you something. You don't have to be a soldier. You don't have to fight alone. But you're still here. And you're still breathing. So maybe that counts for something. Quinn almost laughed. A kid who barely survived a day in this hellhole telling him what counts. He was ready to snap, but something stopped him. The way she looked at him. She saw him. Not just the soldier, but the man. And that was the part he'd buried so deep, he wasn't sure if he even wanted it to surface. "I don't need a damn cheerleader," he said gruffly, not meeting her gaze. Zali's lips twitched. "Good. I'm not here to cheer for you. I'm here to make sure you don't screw it all up." Her words struck something inside him. He looked away, rubbing his forehead. "You don't know what you're asking, kid. This war? It's not some damn fairy tale where everyone gets a happy ending. People die. You die. People die," she repeated, mimicking his tone, her voice hardening. "We already know that. But what's the alternative, Quinn? Let everyone die because you can't deal with your demons? You think it's easier that way?" The question hung between them, but Quinn didn't answer. Instead, he looked out over the battlefield, the smoldering wreckage of what was once a proud city. His mind was a hurricane of rage and guilt, but underneath it all, something flickered, a reluctant ember of something better. "You've got this strange idea that you can change everything," Quinn muttered. "But you're wrong." "Maybe." Zali's voice softened, almost a whisper. "But I think you can still change yourself." There was a long silence. A bomb exploded somewhere in the distance, its sound muffled by the walls of Quinn's own stubbornness. He didn't know if Zali was right. He didn't know if anything could be fixed. But looking at her, seeing the fire in her eyes, he wondered if she was wrong. "All right, kid," he said, taking a deep breath. "Let's say you're right. Let's say I'm not a lost cause." Her eyes widened slightly. "Wait, you're..." Yeah. "Don't make me regret this," Quinn grumbled. "We're going to stop Draxar. But I'm still calling the shots. Got it?" Zali grinned, the spark of hope growing into something fierce. "Deal." Quinn didn't know what they were doing, didn't know what the hell he was really fighting for. But for the first time in a long time, he felt like maybe, just maybe, he had something to fight with. And that, for now, was enough. The night stretched on, the city alive with whispers of rebellion. Quinn's heart was heavier than before, but maybe, just maybe, that weight wasn't all bad. The battle for Vioran was in full swing. The air was thick with smoke, and the sky above glowed a sickly red, bathed in the fires of war. Quinn Cavanagh stood at the center of it all, his body battered but still standing, a reluctant leader in the midst of chaos. Behind him, Zali and the ragtag group of rebels fought with everything they had, their desperation echoing in every gunshot and scream. "Move!" Quinn barked as an explosion shook the ground beneath him, sending debris flying in all directions. The familiar hum of his cybernetic enhancements buzzed beneath his skin, but even that wasn't enough to shield him from the carnage. He ducked behind an old Vioran tank, the sounds of battle raging around him. The rule he'd imposed upon himself, no weapons, was a joke. No one expected him to survive this with just his fists and his brains. And yet, here he was, the last thing standing between Draxar's forces and total victory. The irony wasn't lost on him. "Quinn!" Zali's voice sliced through the chaos, pulling him from his thoughts. She appeared at his side, her face smeared with dirt and sweat, but her eyes still bright with that damn hope. "We've got one shot at this. Draxar's forces are gathering in the city center. We can hit them hard now, but we need your leadership." Quinn snorted, his eyes scanning the horizon. "You've been saying that for hours. Leadership? I'm no damn leader, kid." "You are," Zali insisted, her hand tightening on his arm. "You've been leading them without even realizing it. You can't hide from it anymore, Quinn. Not now." He didn't answer. Instead, he raised his hand, signaling the rest of the rebels to fall back. The timing had to be perfect. The planet's future depended on this one move, the one move that would define everything they'd fought for. If they failed, well, Quinn wasn't ready to face that. Not yet. Not after everything. A blast echoed behind him, a sickening thud that rattled the ground beneath his boots. He spun, his body moving on instinct, and saw the source, a massive dreadnought ship, floating low in the sky, opening fire on the city. Draxar was playing his final card. The air shimmered with the heat of the incoming lasers. "This ends now," Quinn growled. Zali's voice was tight with fear. "We can't stop that. It'll obliterate us all." Quinn's heart raced. He'd faced countless odds, but nothing like this. He couldn't think straight. But then something clicked. An idea, absurd and reckless, yet fitting for a man like him. Quinn took a deep breath. The weight of his own fears and guilt threatened to crush him, but he pushed it down, focusing on the battle ahead. "Get the rebels to the center," he said, his voice steady now. "We need to draw Draxar's fire. I'll handle the ship." Zali opened her mouth to protest, but Quinn cut her off with a wave. "I don't need to be saved. This is how we end it. Trust me, Zali. You trust me, right?" She hesitated, but the look in his eyes made her nod, albeit reluctantly. "Don't screw this up, Quinn." He flashed her a grin that didn't reach his eyes. "No promises." As the rebels made their way to the city center, Quinn turned and sprinted toward a nearby building. The dreadnought above was primed to take the city to dust, but Quinn was going to make sure Draxar regretted underestimating a human. He found what he needed inside the ruins, an old Vioran power core, long forgotten and rusted. His cybernetic arm buzzed with life as he attached the core to his exoskeleton. The alien tech hummed in his veins, and for the first time in years, Quinn felt something close to clarity. He could do this. He had to do this. A voice echoed in his ear. "Zali. Are you out of your mind?" Quinn didn't answer, his fingers dancing over the controls as he powered up the core. The energy surged through his system, amplifying his strength. He looked up at the dreadnought, a massive, looming force in the sky, ready to destroy everything he'd fought for. And he was about to do something ridiculously stupid to stop it. He ripped a piece of metal from the wreckage nearby, shaping it into a crude shield. Then, without hesitation, Quinn charged toward the open battlefield, the hum of the power core turning into a roar in his ears. The dreadnought fired again, and Quinn sprinted through the firestorm, diving into the center of the blast with the crude shield held above him. The impact was deafening. His body absorbed the shock, his enhanced muscles locking in place, but he didn't stop. He couldn't. He ran straight toward the heart of the dreadnought's power core, using every ounce of strength to push through the battlefield like a one-man wrecking ball. "Damn it, Quinn! What are you doing?" Zali screamed in his earpiece. "You can't." He didn't give her time to finish. Quinn leapt, using the last of his strength to hurl himself onto the dreadnought's lower hull. His body collided with the ship in a flash of bright light as he drove the metal shard straight into the ship's weak spot, the power core overloading. "Sorry, Draxar," Quinn muttered through gritted teeth. "But this is my planet now." The ship groaned, then shuddered, a deep, bone-rattling explosion tearing through its insides. Quinn was thrown to the ground, the world spinning as he struggled to rise. He heard Zali's voice calling his name, but it was distant now, barely audible over the deafening roar of collapsing metal and the screams of dying soldiers. For a moment, Quinn lay there, stunned. The ground beneath him was vibrating, the dreadnought's final breath shaking the city. And then, through the smoke and dust, Zali appeared, running toward him with the same fire in her eyes, the same unshakable hope. "Are you out of your mind?" she asked, kneeling beside him, her hands trembling as she checked his pulse. "Yeah," Quinn rasped, smirking despite the pain. "I've been told that before." Zali smiled, but it wasn't a smile of relief. It was something deeper, something warmer. Something human. They stood together, looking out over the battlefield as the smoke began to clear. The city was still standing. The war wasn't over, but they had won. And for Quinn, that was enough. Maybe it was all they'd ever need. A beginning. A new fight. And this time, Quinn wouldn't face it alone. I think I can handle this, Quinn said, his voice soft, the sarcasm fading for once. Let's finish it. And they did.